Welcome all back down to ice level as the regular season begins. As always, I am your host, James Blennau. This week we'll have our first highlights from the new year and new era of college hockey. But before we get into that, let's get into some news. Out of the Big Ten, Max Pacioretty's headed back to school to become a special assistant to the head coach at his alma mater, Michigan. Brandon Naurato brings him in with 17 seasons of NHL experience, and he's currently the Wolverines' all-time NHL leading goal scorer. Naurato said, quote, "Having an alum like Max back around the program reminds our players that they're part of something bigger, and that's the Michigan hockey legacy," end quote. Notre Dame associate coach Andy Slaggert is leaving to pursue pro hockey opportunities at the end of the month. Slaggert spent a whopping 32 years behind the bench in South Bend, earning the Terry Flanagan Award for assistant coaches' career achievements from the American Hockey Coaches Association. He oversaw 70 players selected in the NHL draft, including the Utah Mammoths' Ian Cole and the New York Islanders' Anders Lee and Kyle Palmieri. In the Hockey East, Yale alumnus Alex Westland is headed back to Connecticut to become an assistant coach at UConn. Westland served as the Detroit Red Wings goaltending coach last season and will focus on that as well as recruiting in stores. Westland also spent time with the USA hockey system as the goaltending coach for the US's IIHF World Championship team in 2024. He also set Yale's all-time games played and saves records when he graduated in 1999. Finally, in ECAC hockey, Corey Schneider is reuniting with Eric Lang at RPI as he starts his new role as an assistant coach in Troy. Lang said to the media, quote, "Corey is one of the brightest and most promising young coaches in college hockey, renowned for his exceptional recruiting skills and relentless work ethic," end quote. Schneider previously served as an assistant at Clarkson, overseeing the Tide's 6th best power play in America last season with the Golden Knights, and will likely be in a similar role with the Engineers. Game of the week time. Number 5 Penn State at number 14 Arizona State. Gavin McKenna versus Cohen Potter. Let's get started in the second period. 2 minutes in, Bennett Shimmick fires off a 2-on-1, and the Sun Devils take an early 1-0 lead. And with 6 minutes remaining in the period, an insane pass on a 2-on-3, Sean McGurn sends it to Cruz Lucius, a wild goal to make it 2-0. Moving on to the third period, 5 minutes in, Nicholas Chinda-Graves makes a move of his own on the power play. Look at that. Nittany Lions cut it to 2-1. And a few minutes later, the veteran J.J. Weebush stuffs in a shot off a face-off, and all of a sudden, it's tied 2-2. And with 2 minutes to go in the game, who else for the game winner but Gavin McKenna on the one-timer power play goal, his first NCAA goal to make it 3-2. And our final score would hold with an empty netter to make it 4-2 Penn State. Nittany Lions sweep the series in Tempe to move to 2-0. Arizona State in trouble, dropping 2 at home. Extra, read all about it. Huskies stun the Gophers at Mariucci. No, your eyes do not deceive you, because Michigan Tech, and Bill Muckle's second game in charge, mind you, stunned number 8 Minnesota 5-3. Saturday's barn burner saw the Huskies score 4 unanswered goals after going down 3-1 midway through the first period. Standout performers included Steven Sardinian with 3 assists, including one on Max Koshkapirti's game-winning goal. The defense also held strong through the second, with Ryland Brown picking up 3 blocked shots in the win. Michigan Tech moves on to visit Alaska after this, while Minnesota sees Boston College come to town for a blue blood battle. In Atlantic Hockey America, our standout game this week is Canisius taking down Clarkson 3-1 at home on Friday night, with Grant Porter picking up a goal and an assist against the ECAC hockey finalists from last season. Trevor Large and the Golden Griffins next see LIU come across the great state of New York on Friday and Saturday. Now let's take a look at the standings as of this week. Just to take this with a grain of salt, because these standings this week are very confusing. Some of them do it in the alphabetical order, some of them don't. But here is the Atlantic Hockey America standings. In first, Canisius at a record of 2-0-0, Niagara with a 1-0-0 record, and Army with an 0-0-1 record in the top 3. Air Force and Bentley haven't played any games. Holy Cross with 1 loss, Mercyhurst with 2 losses, and RIT Robert Morris and Sacred Heart also with no games played through this year. The Big Ten standout game is tough considering it has our game of the weekend upset Uproar, but let's go with number 20 Wisconsin's shutout win over Lindenwood on the road. Christian Fitzgerald scored the game winner in the first period from the starman Logan Hensler and Oliver Tolk on the power play from a witty rebound. The Badgers know how to play smart hockey, and my prediction for them in the Big Ten standings does not do their team justice on how they'll fare, especially out of conference. Now let's take a look after some upsets and some quality wins where everyone stands. Hail to the first place, it's Michigan first overall with a 2-0 record, followed by Penn State and Wisconsin, also both at 2-0. Following them is Minnesota with a 1-1-0 record after the split against Michigan Tech, and Michigan State, Notre Dame, and Ohio State have not played any games yet this year. In the CCHA, let's head over to Minnesota as Bemidji State tied its D1 program record for goals in a game with 9 against Alaska Anchorage on Friday. Connor McLennan and Riley Funk each picked up 2 goals, and Casper Magnuson finished with 4 assists in the rout of the Seawolves. Adam Flaming may have had the strongest game of all, though, with a goal and 3 assists. Now let's see where the win propels the Beavers in the CCHA standings. Not sure if they forgot to update them this week, but it's entirely in alphabetical order, but we're still going to go through the team's records. Augustana with no games played, Bemidji State with the 2-0 record following their weekend sweep. Bowling Green, no games played. Ferris State going 0-2-0. Lake Superior State with a 2-0 record. Michigan Tech splitting against Minnesota. Minnesota State hasn't played any games yet. Northern Michigan with an 0-2-0 record, and St. Thomas with 1 win on the year so far. Where else in ECAC hockey can we go but up to Chestnut Hill as number 13 Quinnipiac proved its worth in a tight 4-3 win over number 6 Boston College on the road, and the Bobcats winning their 4th of the last 5 openers. Rand Pecknold's team never trailed through the game, and contributions from all over the lineup came on the board as Jeremy Wilmer and Chris Pelosi each lit the lamp once, while Antonin Varro and Braden Blaze each got their first NCAA point with an assist. And let's see who else jumped around like these Bobcats did after a massive win on the road. Quinnipiac sits alone in first place with 3 points and a 1-0 record, followed by Union with an 0-1 record. Brown, Colgate, Cornell, Dartmouth, Harvard, Princeton, RPI, and Yale all haven't played any games, while Clarkson sits in second to last with 1 loss, and St. Lawrence sits in last with 2 losses. The Hockey East was all over the place this weekend, but let's take a look at number 10 UConn recovering a win after an upset loss on Friday at Colorado College to save the series split in the Springs. The Huskies scored 5 unanswered in the win, with Joey Muldowney scoring his 2nd goal of the season and Ryan Tattle picking up his 1st goal and assist of the year in the win. And let's see where the Blue Bloods and the newcomers land in this week's Hockey East standings. Hockey East standings look a little bit funky this week, but UMass Lowell with a 1-0 record, followed by Boston College with a 0-1-0 record after the loss to Quinnipiac. BU with a 1-0 record. Maine hasn't played any games yet. UMass with a 2-0 record. Merrimack 0-1-0 overall. UNH hasn't played any games yet. Northeastern with a 1-0 record. Providence hasn't played any games, but did play one against Quinnipiac in an exhibition match. UConn with a 1-1-0 record, and Vermont also with no games played. Ironically, back out west in the NCHC, it's not as notable as some of the other teams, but boy did this team need a hot start. Miami, Ohio picked up 2 wins over Ferris State this weekend, and after a dismal last campaign, a 2-win start can seriously set the tone for a completely different year in Oxford. Casper Nasson picked up a goal and 2 assists. Mateo Jampa in his first games after transferring from Canisius picked up 2 goals and an assist, and goaltender Mateo Drobak saved 51 of 56 total shots across both games. Now let's see where the Red Hawks stand and see if they can stay there in this week's standings. Completely alphabetical standings this week, but let's go through the teams. Arizona State with an 0-2-0 record after the sweep by Penn State. Colorado College splitting with UConn for a 1-1-0 record. Denver with no games played. Miami obviously 2-0. Minnesota Duluth sweeping their weekend series with 2-0-0. North Dakota and Omaha haven't played any games yet. St. Cloud State with an 0-1 loss. And Western Michigan, the defending national champions, with no games played as of yet. Now let's check out the USCHO poll from this week. Western Michigan in first place with 32 votes, followed by Michigan State in second with 11, BU in third with 2, and Penn State in fourth with 4. Denver, Maine, Providence, Quinnipiac, Michigan, and North Dakota will round out the top 10, with Michigan also receiving a first place vote. Boston College, Minnesota, UConn, UMass, and Arizona State down to the top 15. And Ohio State, Cornell, Wisconsin, St. Thomas, and Minnesota State rounding us out in the top 20. In the Forecheck Forecast this week, hopefully not record high temperatures for fall, but we do have the Icebreaker Tournament at Arizona State featuring number 8 Quinnipiac, number 15 Arizona State, Notre Dame, and Alaska. Quinnipiac plays Alaska, and the Irish will play the Sun Devils on Friday, while the winners and losers will play Saturday. Number 12, Minnesota, and number 11, Boston College meet at Mariucci this weekend for a Blue Blood Battle Series on Thursday and Friday. And finally, number 9, Michigan heads east for a 2-game set at number 7, Providence, for Roger McQueen's first ranked series of his college career. That's all for this week, so thank you all so much for coming down here for highlights and news. Stick with us next week for more of the same star-powered goals and flabbergasting upsets. I'm James Blennau, and we're not experts, but it takes fans to grow the game.